if fighting is sure to result in victory, then you must fight. Sun Tzu said that, and also he was a very self-disciplined person. My name is Marco Cardoso, and this is self-discipline, productivity, and the increase of motivation. My question for today is, how does self-discipline increase motivation throughout the benefit of productivity? Self-discipline and productivity correlate into one effect throughout the benefits. This can be shown in the stimulus throughout the tunnel. In this story, we follow the perspective of a kid that is trying to go into an underwater tunnel, and he trains by holding his breath for long periods. This shows how productivity affects motivation. So, self-discipline is something that we all need, especially when it comes to making difficult decisions or putting any type of effort into a difficult activity. This is why self-discipline is used by many types of people, from students to even athletes. These two causes correlate into one effect. Throughout the benefit of increasing the motivation of students into achieving goals and academic attainment, by allowing athletes to feel inspired and motivated to put the hard work into the field that they dedicate to, and by supporting mental health to all types of people throughout the benefits. So what exactly is self-discipline? Self-discipline is something that everyone needs, especially when it comes to making difficult decisions or putting in any type of effort. This is why self-discipline is used by many types of people, from students to even professional athletes. To begin with the first perspective, this perspective is the impact of self-discipline on students. One good example comes from a study that investigated the different ways of how self-discipline affected 10th graders' achievements in China, with the study results showing a strong connection with things like emotional and thinking control. All of that shows that the idea of self-discipline has an impact on students. Another study also showed that traits connected to self-discipline were related to sustained effort on academic activities, showing the impact of self-discipline traits on students. Eventually, this leads to different benefits for students. These benefits are, students can increase their motivation by practicing self-discipline, and the productivity that is being done throughout it helps students to reach academic attainment. The practice of self-discipline with traits like perseverance can help students to reach goal resolutions. This productivity by these traits can motivate students to achieve goal resolutions, and self-discipline promotes productivity, which benefits the motivation. So, self-discipline can also support aspiring athletes in the way that athletes can practice self-discipline, and it can help them to achieve their goals, because athletes can feel inspired and motivated throughout self-discipline. This is done throughout productivity. So, in this graph, you can see how different sport activities and how the practice of self-discipline affected the performance in them before and after it was applied. Furthermore, research showed that tasks involving environments supported the growth of self-discipline and motivation. This will demonstrate the impact that productivity has on achieving motivation, and the use of self-discipline is what supports productivity. To practice self-discipline, athletes also need motivational strength, which can help them a lot. This leads to athletes using self-discipline to endure their productivity, which promotes their motivation into activities. The use of self-discipline in task-related environments can benefit and inspire future athletes to keep going and become better at the sport they play or compete in. The use of self-discipline and productivity support motivational strength, which can benefit athletes in the long term. Self-discipline also has an impact on mental health, which fits into a general perspective. Self-discipline can affect the mental health of every type of person, no matter their race, gender, position, or background. So discipline doesn't just affect a certain group of people, but anyone who practices self-discipline can still get the benefits. So discipline can support mental health in the way that the self-discipline mindset can be very powerful, because it can maintain a good mental health, and it also helps to energize it. For example, in this graph, you can see how children with higher satisfaction of life show a higher signs of self-control, which shows that some self-discipline traits can affect the mental health of people from all ages. Research also shows that the influence of self-discipline can moderate the ego depletion effect, which also can prove how self-discipline can impact on the minds of people. This all leads to the practice of self-discipline, promoting mental health welfare to people of all types of backgrounds. Self-discipline and productivity motivating to maintain a good mental health by moderating the ego depletion effect, And people's mental health can be benefited by being motivated by the activities that require self-discipline. In conclusion, self-discipline includes solutions that come from the benefits. The problem lack of motivation can be solved by self-discipline because the practice of self-discipline can increase motivation throughout productivity. This can be achieved by multiple perspectives that can be highlighted when it comes to the practice of self-discipline. The limitations for this are the people who might refuse to practice self-discipline or simply have no interest in doing so. The perspectives that get affected by self-discipline could be the following: students that can achieve academic attainment by practicing self-discipline, athletes or aspiring future athletes that use self-discipline to gain productivity and involvement into task-related environments, and people in general can use self-discipline to maintain mental health welfare throughout the benefits like the moderation of the ego depletion effect. Now we're excited.
All right, 2 questions for you, Marco. First one, we're still, shut the door. What evidence did you gather that you didn't use, and why didn't you use it?
I gathered some evidence that connected to self-discipline, but it just didn't, I say that it didn't connect it to the idea of productivity and motivation, so I simply didn't use the evidence.
Okay. Sorry, I'm scribbling. Okay, and other question. If you had more time, what additional research would you have done?
I would have done research on maybe other perspectives, for example, maybe soldiers or something like that, pretty much.